In the murky depths of the ocean, hidden from view, America's most powerful weapons silently patrol. These titans of steel shield our nation from threats most Americans will never see. What if I told you that the US military spends as much on its underwater arsenal as the entire military budget of France? A staggering $50 billion every year disappears beneath the waves. But where does all this money go? And why are our military leaders so willing to pour billions into weapons that remain hidden from public view? The answers might surprise you. Today, we dive deep into one of the most classified parts of American military spending, the underwater warfare program that's reshaping global power. If you think America's submarines are just about defense, type "protect" in the comments, because what you'll learn today will completely change how you see our nation's security strategy. The hidden power, America's submarine force. When most people think about military might, they picture aircraft carriers, fighter jets, or tanks rolling across battlefields. But America's true strategic advantage lurks beneath the ocean's surface. The U.S. Navy currently operates approximately 68 submarines, each one representing billions in investment and decades of technological innovation. These underwater vessels serve as both America's shield and sword. They provide nuclear deterrence, gather intelligence, and stand ready to project power anywhere in the world without warning. And they do it all while remaining virtually undetectable. But what makes these steel sharks so expensive? Let's break down where those billions actually go. The Virginia-class attack submarine, which forms the backbone of our underwater fleet, costs approximately $2.8 billion per vessel. That's right, nearly $3 billion for a single submarine. And the newer Block V versions with expanded missile capabilities, those run about $3.2 billion each. But even those enormous figures pale in comparison to the Columbia-class program. Each Columbia-class ballistic missile submarine carries a price tag of $15 billion for the first boat, making it one of the most expensive weapon systems ever built. For perspective, that's the equivalent of building 15 state-of-the-art hospitals, or funding the entire educational system of a mid-sized state for a year, all in a single submarine. But are these expenses justified? What capabilities do these submarines actually provide that makes them worth such astronomical sums? The ultimate insurance policy. Why submarines matter more than ever. In today's complicated world, submarines represent America's ultimate insurance policy. The Columbia-class submarines, currently under construction, will form the most survivable leg of America's nuclear triad, the three-pronged approach to nuclear deterrence that includes land-based missiles, bomber aircraft, and submarine-launched ballistic missiles. Unlike land-based missiles or bomber aircraft, submarines can remain hidden in the vast expanses of the ocean, immune to first-strike attacks. This guarantees America's ability to respond to any nuclear threat, a concept known as assured second strike capability. In the grim calculus of nuclear deterrence, this capability actually prevents war by ensuring that no enemy could ever neutralize America's nuclear response. But strategic deterrence is just part of the story. Attack submarines like the Virginia-class perform a wide range of missions that remain classified. These include intelligence gathering, special operations deployment, and surveillance of potential adversaries. With China and Russia rapidly expanding their own naval capabilities, America's submarine force has taken on new importance. The Chinese Navy now outnumbers the U.S. fleet in total vessels, while Russia continues to invest heavily in advanced submarine technology. Let's consider a potential flashpoint like the Taiwan Strait. In such a scenario, America's submarine force would be crucial in countering Chinese naval operations, striking strategic targets, and maintaining open sea lanes. Without this capability, America's ability to project power and protect allies in the Pacific would be severely compromised. The question we must ask ourselves: can America afford not to invest in these underwater capabilities? The price of dominance, breaking down the $50 billion. So what exactly makes up that $50 billion annual expenditure on submarines and underwater warfare? The answer involves multiple programs spanning from construction to maintenance to research and development. The submarine construction budget alone consumes nearly half of the Navy's entire shipbuilding funds. According to the Congressional Budget Office, this amounts to approximately $14.7 billion annually for the next 3 decades. The remainder of the budget goes toward maintenance of existing submarines, research and development, weapons systems, and the extensive support infrastructure required to operate these complex vessels. The Columbia-class program represents the single largest investment, with a total program cost of $130 billion for 12 submarines. When accounting for the entire life cycle costs, including maintenance, upgrades, and eventual decommissioning, the program could reach a staggering $348 billion. Beyond the submarines themselves, billions are spent on anti-submarine warfare capabilities, the technologies and systems designed to detect and track adversary submarines. This includes advanced sonar networks, surveillance ships, and aerial systems specifically designed to hunt enemy submarines. Consider this: the U.S. Navy is currently undertaking its largest overhaul of undersea surveillance networks since the Cold War ended. These networks, essentially underwater listening systems, are crucial for tracking adversary submarines moving through strategic waterways. Is this investment excessive? Let's consider the alternative. The loss of undersea dominance would fundamentally alter the global balance of power. American and allied shipping could be threatened. Communication cables that carry 99% of global internet traffic could be cut, and adversaries could operate with impunity near American shores. The strategic consequences would be profound and long-lasting. If you value our in-depth reporting on national security, consider supporting us on Patreon. Your contribution helps fund our investigations into critical defense issues that mainstream media often overlooks. The link is in the description below. The Submarine Industrial Base, America's hidden strategic asset. Behind every submarine is an industrial ecosystem that represents both a strategic asset and a budgetary challenge. 2 primary shipyards, General Dynamics Electric Boat in Connecticut and Huntington Ingalls Newport News Shipbuilding in Virginia, construct America's submarines. This industrial base employs tens of thousands of workers across dozens of states. Recent years have seen unprecedented stress on this industrial base. The simultaneous construction of both Virginia-class and Columbia-class submarines has stretched resources thin, leading to delays and cost overruns. The first Columbia-class submarine is now estimated to be delivered 12 to 16 months later than originally planned, with hundreds of millions in additional costs. To address these challenges, the White House recently requested an additional $7.3 billion for submarine construction, including $5.69 billion for Virginia-class submarines and $1.59 billion for the Columbia program. This supplemental funding highlights the government's commitment to maintaining submarine production capabilities, even at significant additional cost. But there's more to the story than just shipbuilding. The submarine supply chain includes thousands of specialized manufacturers, producing everything from nuclear reactors to advanced computing systems. Many of these suppliers are the sole source for critical components, creating vulnerabilities in the production process. Since 2018, the Navy has invested more than $2.6 billion in strengthening the submarine supplier base. These investments aim to increase production capacity, improve manufacturing techniques, and reduce costs. But questions remain about whether these investments are achieving their intended goals. Has this massive investment in industrial capacity delivered value for taxpayers? The answer is complicated. While cost overruns and delays present legitimate concerns, the alternative, losing the specialized knowledge and capabilities required to build advanced submarines, would be strategically catastrophic. Once lost, these industrial capabilities would take decades to rebuild if they could be reconstituted at all. The technology race, staying ahead underwater. Beneath the fiscal figures lies a technological race of immense importance. The United States must maintain its technological edge in the undersea domain, where adversaries are rapidly advancing their own capabilities. Modern submarines represent some of the most complex machines ever built by humanity. Nuclear propulsion systems allow them to operate for decades without refueling. Advanced sonar arrays can detect vessels hundreds of miles away. Quieting technologies make them nearly impossible to detect, and weapon systems can strike targets with precision from tremendous distances. The next generation of submarine technology promises even greater capabilities. Unmanned underwater vehicles, UUVs, are becoming increasingly sophisticated, potentially allowing submarines to extend their reach and effectiveness. Advanced sensors continue to improve detection capabilities, and new weapons systems extend striking range and effectiveness. But America's adversaries aren't standing still. Russia's Severodvinsk-class submarines represent a significant leap in Russian capabilities, while China continues to expand both the size and technological sophistication of its submarine fleet. Both nations are investing heavily in anti-submarine warfare capabilities designed to detect and neutralize American submarines. Could America lose its underwater advantage? It's a possibility that military planners take very seriously. The technological margin between leading submarine powers has narrowed in recent decades. While American submarines still maintain advantages in key areas like acoustic quieting and sensor technology, the gap is closing. Maintaining America's edge requires constant innovation and investment, factors that drive the enormous costs of submarine programs. The human element, the silent service. Behind the technology and budgetary figures are the men and women of America's silent service, the submarine force. These sailors volunteer for a challenging life spent largely underwater in confined spaces, often unable to communicate with family for extended periods. The training pipeline for submarine personnel represents another significant expense. Nuclear engineers, sonar technicians, weapons specialists, and other submarine crew members undergo years of specialized training before their first deployment. Each submarine sailor represents an investment of hundreds of thousands of dollars in training and education. The human element of submarine operations cannot be overstated. Despite all the advanced technology, it's still human judgment and expertise that makes America's submarine force effective. The captain's decision-making, the sonar operator's ability to distinguish signals from noise, the engineer's knowledge of complex systems, all are crucial to mission success. This human capital advantage is difficult for adversaries to replicate. The U.S. Navy's culture of initiative, technical expertise, and operational excellence provides a qualitative edge that goes beyond hardware specifications. But maintaining this advantage requires competitive pay, quality of life considerations, and career advancement opportunities, all factors that contribute to the overall cost of the submarine program. What would happen if America couldn't attract or retain this specialized talent? The consequences for readiness and operational effectiveness would be severe. The most advanced submarine in the world is only as effective as the crew that operates it. The strategic balance. Is $50 billion enough? In February 2025, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth proposed cutting 8% of the Pentagon's budget annually for 5 years, amounting to about $50 billion each year. Yet submarines were specifically identified among 17 protected priorities that would be shielded from these cuts. This decision underscores the strategic importance placed on underwater warfare capabilities, even in an era of fiscal constraint. When national security experts were asked to reallocate defense spending in a recent American Enterprise Institute exercise, the Navy's submarine program emerged as a clear winner. This further demonstrates the consensus among defense professionals about the critical importance of undersea capabilities. Perhaps the most telling statistic is this: the United States spends more on its submarine fleet than the next 4 countries combined, including Russia, China, India, and Australia. This enormous investment reflects a strategic judgment about the centrality of undersea warfare to national security. But is it enough? Some defense analysts argue that even current funding levels are insufficient to counter growing threats from China and Russia. They point to the aging of some underwater surveillance systems, delays in submarine production, and the need for more advanced anti-submarine warfare capabilities. Others question whether such enormous expenditures are justified, particularly given pressing domestic needs and a national debt that continues to grow. They suggest that more cost-effective approaches might achieve similar strategic objectives at lower cost. What's undeniable is that decisions made today about submarine funding will shape America's strategic position for decades to come. Submarines take years to design and build, and remain in service for 30-40 years. The investments we make, or fail to make, will determine American power projection capabilities well into the middle of this century. Conclusion: the future of underwater warfare. The $50 billion America spends annually on submarines and underwater warfare represents more than just military hardware. It's an investment in strategic stability, global influence, and technological leadership. These expenditures ensure that America maintains freedom of action on the world's oceans and can protect vital national interests wherever they're threatened. As we look to the future, underwater warfare will only grow in importance. The oceans remain the last truly uncontrolled domain, a vast space where nations can project power with minimal interference. Control of this domain, particularly in strategic choke points and near adversary coastlines, will be crucial to any future conflict. The investments America makes today in submarine technology, industrial capacity, and personnel will determine whether the nation maintains its underwater advantage or cedes this critical domain to strategic competitors. The stakes could not be higher. For Americans considering the value of this enormous investment, the question shouldn't be whether we can afford $50 billion for underwater warfare. Instead, we should ask whether we can afford the strategic vulnerability that would result from losing our underwater edge. As we've seen throughout this exploration, America's submarine force provides capabilities that simply cannot be replicated by other military assets. From nuclear deterrence to intelligence gathering to power projection, these platforms remain essential to national security in an increasingly contested world. If you found this deep dive into America's underwater warfare spending informative, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth analysis of critical defense issues. Your support helps us continue bringing you this important content about America's military strength and strategic challenges. What do you think? Is America spending enough on its submarine force? Or should we be investing even more to counter growing threats from adversaries like China and Russia? Share your thoughts in the comments below.